in today's video? We're talking body recomp. What's up YouTube? Welcome to the video. My name is Tyler, also known as the Fit Chemist, and I help young men take control of their lives by taking control of their fitness, nutrition, and lifestyle habits so that ultimately we can lead healthier and happier lives. So if you're new here, welcome. Please consider subscribing. Turn those notification bells on so you don't miss when I post new videos. And if you're returning, welcome back. I'm so glad that you are here. One of the most common things that I see on my new client questionnaire form is that people check both of the boxes, that they want to lose fat and that they want to build muscle at the same time. And that's understandable, right? You need to do both of those in order to get a quote unquote good body. You need to reduce the amount of body fat you have on your body. And you also need to increase the amount of muscle mass that you have. So in today's video, we're going to take a look and see, is that even possible? If so, who is it for? And if you want to try to undergo body recomp, how do you actually go about doing it? So let's first start with what body recomposition is. It's exactly what it sounds like, right? You are changing the composition of your body by reducing the amount of fat mass you have and increasing the amount of lean body mass or muscle tissue that you have. So is it even possible to undergo body recomposition? Well, let's start with what we know about both building muscle and losing fat. In order to build muscle, we know that we need to be in a calorie surplus and we know that we need to be following a sound training plan. But when we go to lose fat, we know that we need to be in a calorie deficit. So you might be thinking, Tyler, if I need to be in a calorie surplus to build muscle and then I need to be in a calorie deficit to lose fat, then it must be absolutely impossible to undergo body recomposition. Not so fast. What we tend to forget is that our bodies are exceptionally good at storing energy. That's why you have all that fat mass in the first place. So it is possible that even though you're eating in a calorie deficit, your body still has that extra energy already stored as fat to actually give you a calorie surplus and to help you build that muscle. So what that means is that the extra energy that you need to actually build muscle doesn't necessarily have to come from the food that you're eating, but it can actually come from the food or the energy that you already have stored on your body in the form of fat. So to answer the question, is body recomposition possible? Short answer, yes, but the long answer is that it depends on your training age and how long you have been lifting. So let's dive into the science and see what it has to say. So who is body recomposition for? Well, if you are a novice trainee or someone who has been training for less than 1 year, then you are in a prime position to undergo body recomposition because your body is primed for those newbie gains. There was one study that showed that new lifters can put on an average of 4 to 7 pounds of muscle in their first 3 months of lifting. So if we extrapolate that out over the course of the year, that can be somewhere around 20 pounds of muscle, which is a lot of muscle in just 1 year. This is definitely not the topic of this video, but I do want to share why that happens real quick. It's because some studies have shown that newer lifters actually have an increased amount of muscle protein synthesis signaling in their body, and it tends to stay elevated for a longer time than someone who is an advanced trainee. When it comes to body recomposition, the science also supports this notion that novice trainees will have a better time undergoing body recomposition. If we take a look at one study done here in Boston back in 2000 at the Brigham and Women's Hospital, they wanted to look at 38 untrained police officers. Their average age was 34, average body fat percentage was 27%, and they ate in a 20% calorie deficit for 12 weeks. Protein was set to 0.7 grams per pound, so a moderate protein intake, and then they put them on a 4-day lifting plan targeting each major muscle group for each day. After those 12 weeks, they found that on average, participants lost anywhere from 9 to 15 pounds of fat and put on anywhere from 4 to 9 pounds of muscle. So clearly, for untrained individuals and novice trainees, body recomposition is possible, but what happens if you're someone who's been lifting for something like, let's say, over 1 year? So then I would say you fall into the category of an intermediate trainee, so let's say anywhere from like 1 to 3 years of training experience, but let's see what the science has to say. So there was one study done in 2011 at the Norwegian School of Sports Sciences that looked at 24 trained athletes. In this study, the participants were set up to either lose 0.7% of their body weight per week or 1.4% of their body weight per week, so twice as fast as the slower group, and that ended up being about a 500 versus an 800 calorie deficit per day. The duration of the study was 8 weeks for the slow group and then 4 weeks for the fast weight loss group. So remember, one of them is losing at a rate that's twice as fast, and essentially they did this because they wanted to make sure that the amount of weight lost between both of the two groups was the same. Throughout the 8-week period for the slow group and throughout the 4-week period for the fast weight loss group, They were doing a training split that was very similar to that police officer study. So it was just a 4-day training split, which they were focusing on each of the major muscle groups for each workout. What's interesting is that both of the groups ended up losing 4 kilograms of body weight. So that is to be expected because of the experimental design and the rate of weight loss that they set at the beginning. But what we need to take away here is that the slow weight loss group actually ended up putting on 1 kilogram of lean body mass or muscle mass, whereas the fast fat loss group, they ended up losing 0.3 kilograms of lean body mass. So what does this tell us? Well, if you're going to be in a calorie deficit, it is going to be better to take it slower and have a slower rate of weight loss in order to preserve some of that hard-earned muscle. In other words, the larger the deficit, the larger the chance that you are going to end up losing some muscle. This study does seem to suggest that intermediate trainees can actually undergo body recomposition, although it's not going to be as great of an increase of muscle mass when compared to novice trainees. So if we remember back to the police officer study, they gained about 4 to 9 pounds of muscle over the 12-week period, whereas this study in intermediate trainees, they only gained about 2 pounds of muscle over an 8-week period. But what about if you've been lifting longer than 3 years and you fall into this advanced trainee category? Can body recomposition happen for you? Unfortunately, the answer to that question is going to be, yeah, it's probably not going to happen. Just because the longer that you're lifting, the closer that you reach your genetic potential, and the harder it is to build muscle in the first place, even if you're doing a bulk. In fact, there was one study from UT Southwestern that was looking at national level bodybuilders over a 6-month period, and they were actively trying to put on muscle during those 6 months, and they found that over the course of that period, they barely put on any muscle at all. We'll get into how to actually undergo body recomp in just 1 second, but my question of the day for you is, how long have you been lifting, and is body recomposition something that you're after? Let me know down in the comments below. But with that, let's get back into it. If you're watching the video and you have made it this far, then I would assume you probably fall into one of those 2 categories, either novice or intermediate trainee, and you are looking to undergo body recomposition. So how do you actually do it? Well, the first tip is going to be lift weights. You should be following a sound training program that is ensuring progressive overload. And if you don't know what that is, I have an entire series on how to design a training program, and I explain that concept. So I'll link that somewhere up here. And then I also have a video on how to use the Strong Workout Tracker app, which if you're not tracking your workouts, then you can't ensure you're undergoing progressive overload. So I'll put the thumbnail for that over here, and then I'll link that somewhere up here as well. But go watch both of those videos to make sure that you are set up for success. If you're feeling lazy and you don't want to go watch those videos, I would say train above 60% of your 1 rep max to an RPE of 8 or 9. So that means you're stopping 1 to 2 reps short of failure, and then just try to hit 10 to 20 sets per muscle group per week, and just make sure that those are hard and challenging sets. The next thing that you need to do is eat in a small calorie deficit. So I'd say somewhere between 10 and 15% of a deficit would be good. So you need to find your maintenance calories, and if you don't know how to do that, I have an entire video on that. So I'll put that thumbnail over here. Again, link that somewhere up here so you can go ahead and check that out. And I have an entire spreadsheet on how to actually go and use those maintenance calories and track your calories. So if you're interested in that, I'll put that thumbnail over here and I'll link that up here as well. But both of those are going to be amazing tools for you. While you're eating in that calorie deficit, you need to make sure that you are eating enough protein. So I would say you should not be eating anything less than 1 gram per pound of body weight. I would suggest maybe going slightly higher to maybe like 1.1 or 1.2, just because we know that protein requirements and demands actually increase while you're in a calorie deficit. And if you're trying to build muscle as well, the more protein, the better. And then the last thing that you should do is prioritize sleep. Sleep is one of the best supplements that you can take, and it's free, but everybody seems to neglect it. So make sure you're getting to bed on time, getting enough sleep, and then that way you can actually build that muscle that you're after. I also want to give some practical tips though. The first one being that you need to remain patient. So building muscle, even when in a calorie surplus, especially as a natural lifter, takes a lot of time. So if you're going to be doing it in a calorie deficit, what makes you think that that's going to be even faster than when you're in a surplus? It's not going to happen. It's going to take a lot of time. So just be patient with it. Another practical tip is going to be take progress photos. So because this change does take so long, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that your body is not actually changing, especially if you're not seeing the scale weight budge. So what I recommend doing is taking progress photos maybe once a month, and then that way you can compare to 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, and see how much your body has actually changed. A perfect example of this is one of the clients I'm currently working with has been in a calorie deficit for 6 to 8 weeks, and the scale weight was absolutely not budging. And I was like, what is going on? You should absolutely be losing weight right now. But he sent me some progress photos, and as soon as I saw those, I immediately knew that he was undergoing body recomp, because when I looked at his back progress photos, he lost a lot of fat, it looked way more lean, and his back looked super jacked. Along with progress photos, I would recommend getting a body tape measurer, so that way you can take measurements of your body, so things like your arms, your chest circumference, your waist, your hips, your quads, maybe your calves if you're interested in that. But I think a lot of times you'll see improvement in those numbers, even though something like the scale weight might not be budging. All right, guys, that's going to be it for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments down below. And again, if you're new here, be sure to subscribe, turn those notification bells on, because I post new videos every single Friday and you do not want to miss when they go live. And with that, I'll see you in the next video.